Bonjour everyone, welcome back to my kitchen. If you're new here, I'm Mary, Thermomix Consultant in Port Macquarie in New South Wales. First, I wanted to apologise for being a little quiet on social media lately. Life has been a bit busy. My husband Paul and I are just about to open a new patisserie in Port Macquarie called La Pâtisserie du Port. And today I wanted to go back to Thermomix and share one of my favourite recipes, which is a French chocolate mousse. My mom used to make those quite regularly on Sunday for lunch, and it was a really quick and easy dessert to make. Very simple, no cream, no fancy ingredients, just eggs, chocolate. So your egg whites, egg yolks, and some chocolate. There is different recipes on Thermomix you can use, and the ones I am using today I've tweaked a little bit to make it more like my mom used to make. So first I wanted to start with, so first I was saying I just wanted to ask, are you a dark chocolate lover or a milk chocolate? So I love dark chocolates, but my kids don't like it as much. And to make it a little bit sweeter without adding too much sugar to it, I actually make a mix of dark and milk chocolate. Let me know in the comments or where you're from and what you use. What I love about that recipe is that French food seems complicated for some people, but it's not, and I will need to show you how easy and simple it is to make classic desserts without anything fancy. And especially with the Thermomix, it can show you a lot of those new easy recipes. My mom would make it in a bowl with a whisk, but you'll see that it's very simple to make in the Thermomix. Let's get started. So I've got, like I said, my chocolate, my eggs, I've got my egg yolks and my egg wax separated. And first, we actually gonna sort of grate our chocolate. So let's find that recipe first, which I have saved, and sometimes I forget where I put them, but I will find it. There we go. So I have already, so the recipe is asking this one to actually do your egg whites first. However, I do like to do the egg whites at the end, just so that they don't sit there for too long while I'm doing the rest. So I have my chocolates. We're gonna put in there. And then I just need to break them a little bit. Now, if you have small pellets, you don't need to break them too much. But I do have quite large calais, we call them, so it just takes a little bit more to melt, so therefore I will break them a bit. So here it is. I don't know if you can see that well, but it's gone not to a pretty fine dust. Just going to scrape the side of the... And then we're going to add some butter to melt the chocolate. And a little bit. There we go. And we can just put that to melt. Now this recipe is in French, but like I said, you can find a lot of other recipes on the TM7. The other thing you can do, which has been quite useful some moments, is take a picture of that French recipe, whatever, on your phone or on your computer if that's easier, and then just put it in Google Translate, and you can then follow the prompts and see it as easy There is nothing complicated about this one, so it's fairly simple to translate. If not, just give me a shout and I'll help you out to translate it. This recipe is that it's not overly sweet, and especially if you're using dark chocolate. And as much as I crave some moments those sweet desserts, the dark chocolate really gives that nice balance of a bit of bitterness or bittersweet, if we can call it through that, and you will have that lightly sweet but not too sweet, which is quite yummy and rich. Alright, so here's my chocolate all ready. I'm now gonna add my egg yolk. So like I said before, I've got a bit more because I'm just making a larger recipe. So we've got all our egg yolks in, and we're gonna whisk that for a little bit. Probably need to whisk that for a little bit longer. You can do it that way, or you can also add your seconds by the plus. I don't know if you can see my screen, but you just add a few seconds at a time when you're whisking something. Let's pour that mix into that bowl. Now you can make it in a separate bowl. I do like to make the chocolate mousse all into one bowl, but you can make them in individual ramequin. You just need to then pour it out once you've added the egg whites to it. Here's my chocolate and egg yolk. It's all silky and smooth and all nicely melted. We want to make sure that we don't have a bowl too hot when we do this. And the next step is to put this into a bowl, and then we're going to add our egg whites. So the next step, like I said, I prefer to do it at the end rather than the beginning of the recipe, is to whisk the egg whites. So I've put my whisk into my bowl that I've just cleaned, and I am now going to put my egg whites. Now, I will probably need a little bit more time. So as you can see, I can just adjust the time if I think it's going to take longer. The reason I say that is I have more egg whites than what the recipe was asking. I do like my mousse quite light, and one way to do that is add a little bit more egg whites. I've always got egg whites left in the fridge quite regularly. So that recipe was asking for 5 eggs, and I actually have about 9 eggs in there. And I can go back to this and start whisking. Now, one thing with egg whites you do not want to do is over whisk them, or it will split and become quite hard, especially with the chocolate. So once again, with the egg white, you can actually stop the process and lift the lid to see what I like. But you can see they're very full and silky. They don't have that granular feeling. They just look perfect to go. So we're gonna now add that to that chocolate in a bowl in here, and just make the mousse, pretty much. I like to take this off first and scrape what I can out of it. Now, I do have a lot more rice in the recipe, so now I will only add about a third of it for the moment. Try to loosen that chocolate and also scrape the edges of my bowl because I always make a mess. And you gotta incorporate them. You need to be gentle, but you don't want to take too long either. So trying to lift the chocolate onto those egg whites and add them to it. We will be a bit more gentle as we're getting a bit more, but it's not quite loose, as you can see. And I can then add the rest of my egg whites. can see I'm lifting the chocolate onto the top to try to incorporate it. And at the same time, I'm sort of twisting my bowl to make sure that I'm getting everything in. And then I'm not left with all the heavy chocolate at the bottom. You would see it doing this. It gets a lot lighter as you incorporate the egg whites in color. And it's now sort of a nicely light brown color. And here you have it. My classic French chocolate mousse ready to go. We're gonna let that set in the fridge for a few hours and it will be ready for lunch in a few hours. Bon appétit!